A 3-game homestand starts with the first rematch this season in USL League One. It's Central Valley Fuego hosting Knoxville SC here at Fresno State Soccer Stadium in Fresno, California. Welcome one and all to the broadcast. My name is Mark Schoenstert. We appreciate you tuning in on this Sunday evening on ESPN Plus, an early fixture in Fresno for the Fuego at home. As we look at the standings, both sides at the bottom end of the table, but it's early on in the season. You get 3 points here, suddenly you're up with the top of the shelf pretty much. So it is no point for panic at this point in the year for Central Valley Fuego or Knox. But you want to be accruing points. As we take a look at a returnee, Francois Dulis got his first start of the season against Charlotte and is back in the starting lineup here today. They love having both of their center backs from last season starting once again in the starting lineup. Martin Vasquez, been waiting for him to get healthy. Every time we've been able to talk to him and build up to his return, he's talked about how much they've missed Frankie, and now he's finally back into the mix of things. It'll take a couple games for him to get into fit shape, but having him back is the first step. Meanwhile, someone who's been around the block in USL League One, Jake Keegan, already has 2 goals this season. He only had 2 goals last season with the Greenville Triumph, so certainly on pace to have a much better season this go around. And we see here, hit an absolute banger the last time these two teams played. Won't be the last time we see this clip here. So warning, Central Valley Fuego fans on that front. But with that in mind, we'll see if either of those players leave an indelible mark on this game. We've got lineups and kickoff coming up next, but first a brief break. We'll see you on the other side right here on ESPN Plus.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Welcome back to Fresno State Soccer Stadium. Central Valley Fuego and Knoxville SC are preparing to do battle for the second time this season. This matchup's already happened. It happened 2.5 weeks ago. So let's go ahead and take a look at it, shall we? This one, of course, is at Regal Soccer Stadium over in Knoxville, Tennessee. And it started with Jake Keegan blasting one in outside the stretched arms of Mitch North, giving the 1-0 advantage to Knoxville. And then a foul here from Angelo Kelly on Billy and BJ will result in a penalty. And the last goal that was scored on the season by Otonio Jaramillo and the Central Valley Fuego ended up being a 1-1 draw. As we look at the starting lineup for Central Valley, just one change from their lineup against Charlotte. The only man missing is one David Diaz coming in, and Cerritos slipping into that spot in his stead. Of course, not in the exact same position, But there he is, one of the 2 goal scorers on the team this year. Just 2 goals for Martin Vasquez's side so far this year, and Cerritos the only one in the run of play. Meanwhile, for One Knox, let's take a look at their formation. Of course, they're without Angelo Kelly, who had a red card in their last matchup, so he has to serve a suspension. They're going to be without him today. We'll see how they fare without that guy, but Jimmy Villalobos will plug into that central spot and look to fill in his place. They got a lot of talent in Jimmy Villalobos and Jessen Vanderploem in the middle of the pitch, so I don't think they have too much to worry about. But Angelo Kelly, a focal point of this team in the center of the formation. You never know how much that can affect how a team plays for Mark McKeever's side. There's only one way to find out, and that's by tuning in right here on ESPN+. We welcome you along once again. Zahir Vasquez getting the start up top once again over Jaramillo. Had some positive moments against Charlotte, had some positive moments late in the game against Greenville. This will be his 2nd straight start, though, the 23-year-old. We got some whistles blowing here at Fresno State Soccer Stadium. An early game here in Fresno. So let's enjoy some Sunday afternoon soccer, shall we? One Knoxville and Central Valley Fuego. Just the 2nd home game of the season for Martin Vasquez's side. And here come the visitors, One Knoxville. O'Hearn. I'll play it back to Jalen Crisler. Skelton pushes it forward for Illich. There's one back by the home side, donning the white kits today. Meanwhile, the sunset unis are being sported by the visitors. Vanderpump back to Crisler, and now he'll loft this one forward. Waldeck tracking that one down. He gets it poked away. Both sides exchanging possession right now, just poking and prodding at each other. Mainly One Knox pushing forward here in the opening moments of this game. Game number 6 on the season for Central Valley Fuego, just their 2nd home game, but it starts one of 3 games here at home for Central Valley Fuego. And not only is it a 3-game home stretch, but they also get some time off in there. The next time they're on the road is May 27th. So nearly a whole month before they have to take a road trip. And it's actually the most favorable road trip they could possibly have given their location. They'll be going to play Northern Colorado Hailstorm. It's always such a challenge to travel all the time, the Central Valley team. And we always hear about when these coaches have to come and visit them, how much they have to deal with and handle the distance that they're covering. Imagine having to do that every single time you go on the road. They're certainly not part of that congestion in the North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia area. We've got a plethora of League One clubs. Luckily, we'll be getting 2 more West Coast teams next season. Spokane and Santa Barbara will alleviate some of that constant pressure of traveling over to the East Coast. But as of right now, Fresno, the lone standing team in the Pacific time zone. But talking about being home for a little bit of time, I asked Martin Vasquez how much of a relief it is. And he said, well, yeah, we've had 4 games away and 1 home to start the season. And he said, playing at home, everything's just different. I don't really need too much more explaining outside of that, as here's a chance for Keegan making a run, but the offside flag will go up and stop him dead in his tracks. Our head official today, Karen Collado, of course, that's not the one who's throwing up the flag, but now is as good a time as any to acknowledge our head official. Gene Vasquez mentioned how impressed he's been with his side and how they play on the road despite the circumstances, both this year and last year. Last year they were the road warriors all year long. Very impressive on the road. And he said it's difficult, it's a grind. He mentioned the guys are excited to be back and sleeping in their beds, playing on the home ground. I also believe it's Soccer Mom Sunday here at Fresno State Soccer Stadium. Waldeck has it over at that left touch line. Tried the cross and it's deflected immediately out. And then we got a couple whistles that have been handed out to fans here today in attendance. Last time we saw one Knoxville, it was against Tormenta at home. They ended up losing that one 2-0. There's a touch from Dulis, and it just pops out. Karen Collado right in the thicket of the action there and will blow the play dead. It'll be a drop ball. And since we're dropping the ball, might as well talk about Select, the official match ball supplier of the USL League One and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit www.us.select-sport.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Bit of a precarious moment there. Select is the player's choice. Mitch North, the goalkeeper for Central Valley Fuego here this afternoon. Partida has to play it back to Jordan Chavez. I'm sure he's enthused to have his guy Frankie back to his right-hand side. I'm going to call a foul on Partida, the left back. It'll be a free kick for One Knox. 2-0 was the scoreline at the end of the game, but Mark McKeever felt after 45 minutes his team should have been down 2-0 in the first half against Tormenta. He said, luckily, Sean Lewis bailed us out a couple times. So far, Lewis has not even been on our screen yet because it's been all Knoxville on this side of the pitch. And he mentioned that our work in the final third just wasn't right in that first half, but then they came out flying in the second. And he said, we played some of the best football we played all season, but then we let up a nightmare of a goal, as he called it. That first goal by Mateus Cassini. He was not pleased with some of the actions that led up to that goal. Here's Illich. Down that right-hand side. Plays into the center. And it came off of Johnson, but it didn't have a lot of bite to it. Central Valley Fuego have been on their heels the entirety of this one. One Knoxville. We're asking all the questions. And they'll be looking to test Mitch North a couple more times here. Villalobos sends us to the right-hand side. O'Hearn with an excellent touch. Squares it across again! And it gets stuck in the legs of the defender. But the follow-up shot deflects over and off the mark. One Knoxville continue to attack. Derek Waldeck trying to test goal there. Good looking ball from O'Hearn, and it just falls underneath. I believe that's Omar Lemus, but don't know for certain. But we will get an El Mexicano corner kick. It's been all one Knoxville to start. We do have a player down, though, for the visitors. I'll wait to see who that is. handful of players all approaching Karen Collado right now, and we're going to get a card there. And I think I'm hearing that that was a red card that was just issued. Mohamed Dabo has just been sent off with a straight red. Something rather terrible must have been said there. It was on the side of the screen. 4 players were approaching Collado there. And then she singled out Mohamed Dabo. Pulls out the card, and it turns out it was a red card. We'll wait for confirmation on what exactly earned that booking, but now Central Valley Fuego are down a player. Let's take a look at this. Oh, he headbutted him. He put his head down. That's going to get you in trouble. Mohamed Dabo, 27 years old, sent off under 10 minutes into this game. Now, doesn't that change, well, everything about this match? If you're the home side now, the way you approach this game and the hopeful end result's entirely different, and one Knoxville, who have already been on the prowl, now have more incentive to do so. Sometimes when you're on these road trips, especially long ones, depending on how your players are feeling, you might just come in and play more reserved and just hope for a point on a long road trip. But now, I don't think that's a thought. I wouldn't believe that that's a thought that crosses Mark McKeever's mind off in any way. Very aggressive head coach. But if there was even an inkling of that thought crossing his mind coming into the game, that's certainly not the case now. Wow. I mean, this is a way to start this game. Both these teams coming into this match with the player on a red card suspension. I already mentioned Angelo Kelly. Adrian Vera got a red card in the game against Charlotte, which Central Valley lost 1-0. And a long talking to from Karen Collado with Diego Casillas. Free kick here for one Knox. Waldeck plays it in and straight into the hands of North. Martin Vasquez wasn't pleased with the result on the road against Charlotte. He felt they deserved at least a point. This is their first time really having the ball at all in the attacking half, and the odds are now stacked against them. Casillas brings it down. Gonna take some extra effort to find good moments offensively now if you're on the home side. And if you're one Knoxville, you've got this advantage. Don't need to force anything. The moments are gonna come to you, especially when you are gonna be up a player for practically the entirety of the match. talking about that 1-0 loss against Charlotte, Martin Vasquez was happy with the way his team played, which is why he felt like they deserved at least a point in that one. He said that it was a difficult ask of them in that one. They had a bad result against Greenville, and he had to turn around and play the team that was top of the table. And he said that our guys responded really well, and given how they responded, he felt they're going to respond even stronger in this game against Knoxville. But now, of course, this game and its scope are entirely different. Villalobos plays it forward. A couple of poor touches there. Just a little clunky from Knoxville. First long road trip as a team in League One. Of course, they spent the entire preseason traveling. Didn't play any home games, but their only road trip so far this season was against their in-state foes, Chattanooga. Don't exactly have to travel too far and have a massive itinerary for a trip like that, but when you're going all the way across the country, certainly there's a lot more planning that is involved in it. O'Hearn still going forward, gets bumped off it. He's able to retrieve it here though. Chrysler sends in the ball, it skips off the back of a player, and then that shot will sail well over the mark. One of the aspects that Mark McKeever was keeping his eye on was the temperature. And it's a nice warm day here today. Sitting around the lower 80s. The fans have come out. A bit windy, but ultimately a nice day in Fresno, California. And all the sunglasses out again. It's a little bit earlier of a game than one typically finds for these Fuego home matches. Everyone got to get to bed and go to work tomorrow, I suppose. But I talked about road trips in general. Mark McKeever's been around the sport as a coach for quite a while. Of course, this is his first time as a League One head coach. As Keegan squares it across the middle. And that one coming off of Callum Johnson, excuse me. And straight into the hands of Mitch North. Another decent chance for Knoxville, but ultimately North not asked to do too much there. Was able to get on the other side of Francois Dulis. So here Vasquez taps it back. Here's Fernandez playing it up. We're talking about the intricacies of road trips with Mark McKeever. I asked him, what were some of the things that you've learned across your time coaching in soccer that are most crucial to the formula for a good road trip? And he said, well, first you have to get the periodization of training right. When you train, how intense you train, these are important things you have to think about and build up to a long road trip. Or in this case, a long flight. And he said on top of that, individually, each player has to make sure that they're hydrating and they're eating what is proper at the right times. And on top of that, when you take your naps are really important. And then he acknowledged that it's also going to be much warmer in Fresno than in Knoxville. Another thing they have to account for and be preparing for. There's so many variables when you're on the road. Being at home, obviously, is so much easier. Hence the term home field advantage. We got a free kick here for Central Valley. Well, if there's ever a spot where you could take advantage of being a man down, it's from set pieces. It just takes one or two individuals to come up with something brilliant. And Central Valley is loaded with players that have that individual talent. So it's Bijev, Ramos, and Partita. Well, Partita is leaving the pack, excuse me. So Ramos and Bijev standing by the ball. Waiting for the go-ahead from our head official. Bijev takes it, and it's off the mark. Trying to curl that in the top right corner. By the way, there's Sean Lewis, the keeper for One Knoxville. Really the first time we've seen him really move out of spot the entire day. At the end of it, it'll be a goal kick. So before that free kick was taken, there was a yellow card given to Jesus Partita. It's his third yellow of the season. O'Hearn trying to slip by Partita there. And Partita doing really well to shrug off O'Hearn, and they help each other up. Partita getting that yellow card will have to be careful for the rest of the game. His team's already down a man. So goal kick here for Central Valley Fuego. Talking to Martin Vasquez about One Knoxville, I asked him how helpful it is to be able to play a team so quickly, because there's not like much has changed with One Knoxville in 2.5 weeks. So the scout is probably pretty truncated, and there is the man himself. He said, well, it certainly helps from the tactical aspect of the game. He mentioned that we know their personnel and what they like to do, but ultimately it's going to come down to who shows up, plays harder, and makes less mistakes. He mentioned he has a lot of respect for Coach Mark and said they have a nice style of play. Both coaches made a point to acknowledge that they liked the style that the other coach was pushing with their team. And as far as the making less mistakes category, I think there's a very clear team that's made less of them. And there's Mark McKeever. I mentioned he had a lot of nice things to say about Martin Vasquez's side. He mentioned that they have a lot of technical players and want to build out from the back, which he has a lot of respect for. And he said, look, they've been on the road grinding it out. Their spirits are going to be up playing back at home, and they got to be cognizant of that. Just another thing on the list to keep your mind on when you're on a long road trip. Skelton plays it back to Lewis. Vasquez is going to chase him down. Giving chase and pressing, already such a tasking thing to do when you have 11 players. O'Hearn plays it across the center, and it skips off of Chavez and off for a corner kick. So Callum Johnson will slowly make his way over to the left flag. He plays it short. Gives it right back. It's a high arching ball. Skelton's header ends up being on goal, but it's caught by Mitch North. Once again, not too much danger. One Knoxville been the only team really pushing anything offensively, but up to this point, Mitch North hasn't needed to do anything too serious. Got another couple of chances that didn't connect to a shot on goal. But you know that something's got to give if they continue to push. Vanderplump trying to push that forward for Illich. Appealed for a handball, won't get it. Cerritos. They had options on both wings there. Didn't take either of them. Now Bijev has the ball. Bijev still going to the top of the 18. Ref is playing on, but now we'll keep it going. That was one of the whistles on the sideline. That's awfully confusing. There's the actual whistle. Well, Vilian Bijev drew a penalty in the first matchup, and he's a crafty veteran. That is one of the avenues to go to try and find yourself a goal, and he does get tripped up there, and it looked like it was right in the corner, but the ball was pretty far away, and ultimately, I believe that was Sean O'Hearn who was there. Actually, I believe it was Vanderplump. Wasn't exactly making any movement. It was more so Bijev running into him. There's Sean Lewis. This one will bounce back to the keeper. Escorted by Francois Dulis there, or at least shrugging off Keegan. I got to talk with Martin Vasquez about a week and a half ago, roughly, and he mentioned how good the center back pairings across the league are. It's one of the standout positions in USL League One. So with Francois Dulis coming back, I asked him more recently, what does he like about his pairing in a league full of good center back pairings? One Knoxville, another one of those sides, and Jordan Skelton and Jalen Chrysler. Martin Vasquez said, I like the continuity of our guys. They have over 30 games together, which is such a crucial quality of a center back duo. And he said, last season, in our best games, those two were playing. And sometimes it's as simple as that. I mentioned it'll take a few more games to get Francois Dulis back to 100%, but they're obviously enthused to have him back, and now it's a yellow card for Jordan Chavez. So that's, if you're keeping count, 2 yellow cards for Central Valley Fuego, and then, of course, the straight red on Mohamed Dabo. That's one of the 2 center backs that we were just talking about. Mr. Chavez wearing the captain's armband. Dulis with the clearance. Waldeck with a heavy touch there. Vasquez plays it back to Casillas. Bijev's making a run. Can Casillas find him? No, he can't. And then he'll get tripped up by Villalobos. And he's going to get a warning from Karen Collado. No booking. And Casillas is Still getting back up on his feet. Nothing called there with that collision with Jake Keegan. I asked Mark McKeever, with the absence of Angelo Kelly, if there's someone that steps into that spot or if they have to change how they're structured since they're missing such an integral guy in the middle of the pitch. And he said, well, James Thomas could step into that spot, but he's hurt. He mentioned that there are a couple other guys that could plug into that position, but he said that formationally and tactically, they are not going to change too much. They've got a good assortment of versatile players. And he said that we built the team's roster to be prepared for moments like that. Don't miss a minute of the action in 2023, whether your club is on the road or at home. Catch nearly every second of USL League One action on ESPN+, the home to the USL, La Liga, the Bundesliga, UFC, and more. Sign up today at plus.espn.com. So 30 minutes have transpired. And the main point of emphasis, of course, the headbutt incident with Mohamed Dabo. And we've got another yellow card for that pack line for Central Valley Fuego. Now, 3 of the 4 guys are all on a yellow, and they're already down a man. That one was for delay of game. Illich getting tripped up. No penalty given, or foul for that matter. Here's Waldeck, takes the shot, and ultimately not sure if that was more of a shot or a pass in the middle, the way he put his laces through it. I think he was intending for goal there. Now, if you're the home side and you can get to the break still at 0-0, then you can really begin to plan for a course of action in the second 45, a way to just bunker in and see this one through to a scoreless draw, because they've been bracing the impact for the entirety of this first half, even before the red card was issued. Cerritos making his way forward, puts on the brakes, and privy to that one was Fernandez. That's a good challenge. Cerritos with some help, still going. Gets it over to Bijev, but diving on it is Lewis. And kicking the post in frustration, Villian Bijev knew he had a moment. He had slipped through, but that ball just too close to the keeper. Aggressive tackles like the one Cerritos made are the kinds of moments that you're going to need if you're Central Valley and you want to try to conjure up a chance offensively. It's moments like that you can get a rush with a player advantage. You got the opposition thinking that they're going one way, and then suddenly directions are changing. CS, a little pop and punt there. I was saying earlier, the versatile assortment of players for one Knoxville. They're built for moments like games like this where you have injuries or red card suspensions to just shift some things around just a little bit without changing the game philosophy. Vanderplum plays it in the middle. No one's there for it. Bijev will take this one forward. He switches over to the right-hand side. Casillas brings it down. And at this point, they've lost any chance of open space that they had. So they'll need to bring it back once again. Here's Bijev once again. Chrysler giving him some issues, but Bijev still has it. And then just gets it poked away from him by Jimmy Villalobos. Villalobos, in essence, sliding into that spot for Angelo Kelly. Usually it's the pairing of Jessen Vanderplum and Kelly together. But Mark McKeever said we've got guys who typically play on the outside who could shift inside. We've got number 9s who can be 10s if they need to be, and vice versa. Especially in League One, it's so important to have that versatility amongst your players. And we're going to get a free kick, and there is a yellow card. First one of the evening for the visitors. Danny Fernandez with his first yellow card of the season, his first yellow card as a pro. His second year with One Knoxville, but of course they were in League Two last season. And now he'll conversate with Waldeck, one of the many veteran players on this back line who have been providing some tutelage for Fernandez. So I'm hearing that we also have a yellow card booking given to the bench for Central Valley, one of the assistant coaches being given a yellow. So Cerritos with the chance to talk to his head man and one of the assistant coaches. Any chance they can get to figure out a way to see this to the break, as Lamouche is going to walk to the sideline. He was the one who went down. And now he's waved back on. Again, we welcome you in here for a Sunday fixture in USL League One. A jam-packed day yesterday, 5 matches. And if you didn't catch it, we'll have all the highlights for you at halftime. That one's sliding through to Lewis, and he doesn't even need to pick it up until Vasquez approaches. It was a headbutt during a dead ball situation from Mohamed Dabo that put Central Valley Fuego down a player. Knoxville have not yet been able to capitalize on the advantage, at least on the score sheet. They've obviously been the ones in control of the game. And although the mentality as an observer, obviously when you see a player go, or a team go down a player, is that they're in trouble and that there's no possible way they can find a result. The fact of the matter is League One has a track record that says otherwise. Sometimes teams going down a man have somehow made it work or have miraculously pulled out a draw. So it's not certainly a guaranteed bad result for the home side. Certainly doesn't help, though. League One has a propensity for chaos. Illich. Waldeck tried to bring that one in. Waldeck again, laying it in the middle, and it skips around. This shot, once again, falls into the arms of North. That one sort of bumbled around a little bit. It was Callum Johnson who had the shot at the end of it. It goes off of the head of Dulis and the back of Jordan Chavez. Fell fortuitously to Callum Johnson, but couldn't do anything with it, at least nothing that was out of the reach of one Mitch North. But here come one Knoxville. Johnson moving forward. Keegan running. He has to play it back. And Casillas doing well there to add some disruption. Ball played into the middle. Pinged upward by Dulis and cleared away. Haven't seen a ton yet from Ozzy Ramos today, typically all over the pitch for Central Valley Fuego. Talked a little bit about him with Martin Vasquez. I compared him to the Energizer Bunny because he's constantly running around and always involved in the plays. And I said, is it something that you see in him every single day? Is that how he has the energy tank that he displays for 90 minutes, game in and game out? And Martin Vasquez told me, Mark, I assure you, it is every single day he brings that kind of energy. He said he played 30 games, that is, for us last year and was constantly a high performer. And he mentioned when we started putting the team together this offseason, we knew we wanted him included in our plans. He's just got great quality, and he shows up every game and every practice. Finding that number 6 there, running towards the ball now. Stationed right in the middle of the pitch. Illich poking it forward for Keegan. Keegan gets tripped up, and it's a point to the spot. One Knoxville with a chance to take the lead from the penalty area. Omar Lamous with the challenge. I don't think he gets any ball there as he trips up Keegan. And with a little bit of an arm thrust, Jake Keegan celebrates. We'll see who goes up to take it. Ilya Illich has buried a penalty this season for one Knoxville. Lamous in his 4th start this season. Well, Villalobos is holding the ball, but you always know how some of these pre-penalty kick antics can be. Jordan Chavez giving some words to Mitch North. So it does look like it's going to be Jimmy Villalobos. Has 1 goal this season. One-on-one with Mitch North. From Oasis, California, Jimmy Villalobos, so back over in his home state. Can he give Knoxville the advantage they've been searching for practically the entirety of the first half? He steps up to the plate, and he puts it wide. Jimmy Villalobos dragging it off the spot. He went for the slow roller, emphasizing accuracy over power, but then he lacked the accuracy. This game is still 0-0. At this point, Central Valley Fuego need to start thanking the soccer gods. Unreal. So we're going to get 5 minutes of stoppage time here. Knoxville do not have the lead. No foul called there. William Bijev to Casillas. And that one will bounce out for a throw. Casillas throwing that one further away. They've already given a couple people a yellow card for time wasting. But it appears since no one was in the vicinity of the ball, they're not going to provide the booking here for Casillas. Bijev plays it back to Chavez. He'll switch it over to Partita. Has the propensity to push forward. There's only one other Fuego player on our screen right now. Good exchange. Partita cuts to his left. Partita across the middle. And into the hands of Sean Lewis. Well, been a couple positive moments offensively for Central Valley Fuego. Halftime is coming up your way. Maybe another chance here for Knoxville before it closes. O'Hearn looking to the top of the 18. Villalobos was the closest man. Now Vasquez plays it to Bijev. Cerritos trying to wind through two players. Cerritos still working with it. Cerritos shoots, and it's off the mark, but it's not too far. He's a dangerous player with a head full of steam. Alexis Cerritos, through several defenders, finds the pocket of space to shoot. And all he needs is a little bubble. He's already proven this season that he can make a run all by himself and then blast one home. We're approaching the 5 minutes of stoppage time. Promising moment for Knoxville, or excuse me, for Central Valley Fuego there. Knoxville on the ball now. And there's the halftime whistle. Well, Central Valley Fuego have survived 40 minutes down a player. And have even had a chance or two of their own. One Knoxville continually knocking on the door, even had a penalty. And Jimmy Villalobos dragged that one wide, which means we are still scoreless here going into the first half break. And with that in mind, we'll step aside briefly. When we come back, we'll give you highlights from yesterday's action, along with some of the talking points from across the league. Go grab yourself a drink, take a breather, and we'll see you on the other side here on ESPN+.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Halftime here between Fuego and Knoxville. If you weren't paying attention to what happened yesterday, if you had some Saturday plans, whatever it may be, I have a chance to recap all the action with you here. So sit tight, buckle in, let's get into it. Starting with the early game on Saturday, Madison and Charlotte Independence, 2 of the 3 undefeated teams going into Saturday. And boy, did we get a show. First off, this shot from Corey Bennett, saved by Bernd Schittman. Madison had several chances in this one, had a 1.5 goal, expected goal, but Austin Pack, man, if anyone has broken out as an early candidate for any of the end of the season awards, it's Austin Pack for goalkeeper of the year. 7 saves, he's just been doing it game after game. Another clean sheet for him, because he held the Palace firm in that one. 0-0 your final scoreline between Madison and the Jacks. Meanwhile, at Paladin Stadium, Charlotte Independence coming into the weekend were top of the table by themselves. North Carolina FC with a chance to join them with the Charlotte draw. Rafa Mensingen would get fouled inside the penalty area. Look at the top of the 18. The save deflects right back in. Whether that was intentional or not by Luis Perez is up for your discretion. But one way or another, it's a goal for North Carolina FC early in the game, and then they get a second penalty from the same player, Hassan Gabo, fouling Cervenia there. Another point to the spot. Rafa Menzigen would put this one away, make it 5 goals on the season. He leads USL League One in that category here early on in the year. Then late in the game, Greenville would get one back, too little too late though, but it would be a career first for Daniel Wu, who actually played in the North Carolina FC Academy for 8 years. And his first ever pro goal is against the team that, in essence, raised him soccer-wise. But a 2-1 result for North Carolina FC puts them atop the League One table, tied in points with Charlotte, but have a better goal differential. Now, boy, was this one crazy. Let's take you through a wild 4 minutes of action. 78th minute, So Kim against Chattanooga. Fights through one player, cuts inside, and then just hits it so beautifully. Gives Lexington the lead on the road. Pretty close in proximity, Lexington and Chattanooga. Just a state border apart. And then 2 minutes later on a corner kick, it would almost go in here, and then Nico Cardona would assuredly head it forward to tie the game up just minutes after Lexington took the lead. But we're not done here yet, because the 2 minutes after that, in the 82nd minute, Austin Kazi, oh no, Ropapa Mensah's coming, and he's got the ball, and he's giving Chattanooga the lead to make it 2-1. What a turnaround in the span of moments in this game in favor of the home side. And they wouldn't be done yet, because they'd get one other player their first goal this season. Mael Malongo has been so explosive this year, and he finally gets one to go through. I'm sure it's the first of many this year. He is such a quick and talented player. I think we're going to see some more acrobatics throughout the year in his celebrations as we go over to Warner Park for the first time this season. And we also get a red card. Stefan Lukic, 15 minutes into the game, gets a second yellow, which means the hailstorm on the road are playing a man down, and it doesn't help when you have shots like that from Palacios giving the Owls the lead. And that's not even the best goal of the game, not even the best goal for Union Omaha, because Noe Meza right here gets on his bike. What a beautiful strike. Let's let you look at that one again. So at that point in time, it's 2-0. Omaha are a man up, but they're not done yet. And Noe Meza is not done yet. What a start to the season he's having in his second year with Omaha. 2 fantastic finishes from him, and it's looking all good for the Owls. But Northern Colorado are able to fight back in this one. Wouldn't be the only brace we have today, because Trevor Amon would get 1 goal, and then he would get a second thanks to the service from Arthur Rogers. And I know you've heard that one before. Rogers always so good in those services. But it would be a 3-2 victory for the Owls at the end of the day, but some fight displayed from Ayman Zayed's side despite being down a man and down 3. Then the Kickers against Tormenta. The first time the regular season winner faces the playoff champion, because in the years prior, those were one and the same. Here's a goal for Nathan Ani. Got to celebrate when a center back's able to get one in. 7th minute, the Kickers take the lead on the road. And then Justin Suko would get on the board thanks to this pass from Michael Hornsby. Great connection. Easy work for Suko to make it 2-0 on the road for the Kickers, really stamping their claim on this game. Would you believe me if I told you Emiliano Terzaghi up to this point had not scored this season? Well, now I can fix that issue. Terzaghi gets his first of the year. Great free kick, makes it 3-0 for the Kickers. It would end up being a victory for Richmond on the road, but Kingsford Ajay would get one back for Tormenta, the reigning champs. And it's a beautiful one at that. But 3-1 would be your final score. Richmond with some huge points on the road against Ian Cameron's side. We'll step aside for a break. When we come back, we have more halftime content on ESPN+.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed a little break there, but it's back to get into the nitty-gritty here in USL League One. First off, though, in the grander scope of the USL, Jake Edwards stepping down as president. What an 8 years he had at the head honcho spot in the United Soccer League. Just think about all of the progress and the growth that this league has had in these past 8 years, past 10 years during his entire stint with the USL. Ultimately, all I've got to say on the matter is we thank you for all the contributions and the help you've given to USL. We've seen exponential growth over the past decade, ultimately. As we take a look at our team of the week, Lucas Coutinho, the player of the week with a brace and an assist against Central Valley Fuego last Wednesday, which was an impressive feat. Or actually, it wasn't last Wednesday, it was the Wednesday prior to that, so a week and a half ago at this point. But an impressive showcase from him. A lot of Greenville, North Carolina names on here, Tormenta. As we pivot and look at some players and teams that may be seeing some of their guys on the team of the week this week, we looked at the highlights. Chattanooga, an exceptional late game surge to come back and win that game. Just interesting results all around. The table continues to stay muddled. Not a ton of separation. That's League One for you. What else can you expect? Well, you can expect the next few games. Coming up on Wednesday, you've got Knoxville going back to home to host Forward Madison. And an interesting quirk about this week, of course, Central Valley playing on Friday, is that there are no Saturday games. So have a Saturday off. Enjoy some plans. Go somewhere else for that evening. You don't have to tune into League One soccer. But we do have some League One soccer coming on the other end of this break. So do not go too far. On the other side, we've got the highlights, stats, and second half kickoff.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Welcome back. We've got 45 more minutes of soccer here on the docket. But before we get to that, let's take a look at the highlights from the first 45 minutes of action here between Central Valley Fuego and 1 Knoxville. Well, the story starts here. Mohamed Dabo giving the headbutt to Jalen Chrysler. Didn't catch it live, but we saw it on the replay. And then he would get the red card, sent off, 9th minute. Central Valley Fuego would end up playing 40 whole minutes down a man, and they'd be close to conceding a goal, including giving away a penalty opportunity. Omar Lamous guilty of the foul, tripping up Jake Keegan. Didn't make any contact with the ball, but Jimmy Villalobos puts the one wide. The one big chance they had, and it would go off the mark. Their expected goal is at 1.31, but this game is scoreless, and this is kind of a trend for both these two teams. One Knoxville has shut out their opponent in 4 of their first 5 games this season in the first half. Meanwhile, pretty condemning stat for Central Valley Fuego. They have failed to score in the first half of every game this season, and today has been no different. As you see, 60% possession, 8 shots, 4 of them on target, but One Knoxville just haven't been able to break through. 4 shots, though, for Central Valley Fuego, despite being down a player, including 1 on shot. Had a couple of good chances on that side of the ball, but we'll see how these two teams fare here in the second half of action. I'd like to shout out the Knoxville fans watching at Cool Beans. Hope you're having a fantastic night there. They'll be hoping to erupt into a cheer here in the second half for an away goal. I thought they had the moment in the first half from the penalty spot, but it wasn't to be. But they've got 45 more minutes with a player advantage to knock one through and get 3 points on the long road trip. So now, what will we see from these two sides? I'm sure we're going to see very similarly the same sort of aggressive nature from One Knoxville, but how will this side change their approach here in the second half? I'll tell you one thing, I don't see any new faces yet. Ultimately, I would say Central Valley Fuego fared as well as a team can fare, being down a player. But how long can you hang on to that? How long is it until this visiting side just connects the dots a tinge bit sharper and end up breaking through and scoring? Well, I do see one new face for One Knoxville. Kyle McDowell has made his way onto the pitch. And also, right there, Matthew Vowinkle. There's a third one as well. I'll wait to get confirmation on the players who have been subbed off. So adjustments from the side with a player advantage, maybe going to change their shape into something a little bit more aggressive. Try to break through and get that goal they're searching for. So we've got Kyle McDowell coming in for Derek Waldeck. And then we've got Jan-Erik Linos coming in for Danny Fernandez. And then last but not least, Ilya Illich leaves for Matthew Vowinkle. So we'll see if any of those changes from Mark McKeever results in some promising moments going forward. Of those, the one, honestly, actually all these players, not a ton of minutes between them all. Good chance for them to make a statement here in the professional realm. Kyle McDowell, just 7 minutes played. Matthew Vowinkle, 21 minutes played in 2 appearances. And then Jan-Erik Linos, the most of them, with 64 minutes played. And that's Jan-Erik Linos right there. A right wing back. Once again, they're without Angelo Kelly today. Was given a second yellow in the game against Tormenta. stepped into the keeper and flipped Pablo Jara. Mark Vahira said, knowing Angelo, there wasn't any malice in what happened there. Just a mistake. He mentioned that they were staying in it even after going down a man until that second goal was scored by Tormenta on the counterattack. He said very thin margins separated that game, and I think it's fair to say, though, that Tormenta deserved to win. And he mentioned that they're a good team, and he respected their performance. He respected their performance. Of course, now they're the ones up a player. This will bounce to Lewis, and he'll distribute it over to his left-hand side. That's Sean O'Hearn. So it looks like they may be shifting to a three-back system. They've proven this season they can do both. One Knoxville. And run with O'Hearn, Skelton, and Chrysler. And then you'll let Kyle McDowell and Jan-Erik Linos play up those wings as wing-backs. Francois Dulis. And there he goes. It'll be Mitch North to take it. So I'll go from one keeper to the other here. End-to-end stuff, but not in the exciting manner, admittedly. Here's McDowell. That one pinged around a couple of times. McDowell is back on it. He is bumped into by Diego Casillas. A little frustrated by that call. Almost a look of disgust on his face. So this one will come back for Vanderplum. Johnson with some space. Johnson tries to shoot, but ultimately not a dangerous take. That's been the story a bit here for One Knoxville. They've gotten into these promising moments and then haven't done anything with them. Just haven't had that lethal touch. Meanwhile, on the other side, Central Valley Fuego will lob in this ball. Bijev with a couple of touches. Bijev still with it, lays it off for Casillas. William Bijev nearly with a heroic effort there. Ramos wins it back. He connects with Bijev. One-on-one. William Bijev cuts to his right, tries to square it across. This one out wide for Linos. Partida's there in front of him. He'll play it back. Vanderplum. To McDowell. He swings in a ball, and it's headed down, and it's well off target. Slow to get up is Callum Johnson. Johnson's had several chances served to him in this game. He came down hard there. Was thinking all about the ball and didn't think about the fall that would come afterwards. Good exchange there. Fuego pushing forward. And they're going to get a free kick in a dangerous spot. They don't have Victor Falk in the game. He's on the bench. They know they've got a great free kick taker in Victor Falk, but he's not out onto the field just yet. And that's a yellow card for Jalen Chrysler. It's his third yellow card of the season. He was the victim of the headbutting in the first half. Just clips the backside there. That'll get you a free kick. Martin Vasquez mentioned that this side wants to prove themselves. He said, we want 3 points. It's been a tough stretch for us recently. And we want to get back into shape here. They won their first game this season on the road at Chattanooga. They haven't been able to find a winning result since then. Their only other point was against this same team they're up against. Ramos and Bijev. It'll be Bijev to take it, and it will sail over the crossbar. Vanderplum will drive it forward. No one's approaching him, so he'll keep going with it. Here's Keegan. And he's beat by Dulis. Linos. Good ball to Johnson. Vanderplum pops this one up, and Johnson can't bring it down. Last time these two teams played, Mark McKeever mentioned that he was disappointed with the result, that 1-1 draw. He said that we created more chances, but we didn't have the end product. And then he mentioned that a silly mistake led Central Valley Fuego back into that match, a penalty that was converted by Otoniel Jaramillo would make that a 1-1 draw last time these two teams played. Once again, we'll take a peek at the weather report. These fans sitting in the sun, starting to dip down a little bit this evening in Fresno, California. Bowinkle as Linos track it down. Jan-Erik Linos still going, and that will leave something to be desired. Paco Craig leads Miami FC into Kentucky to face Josh Winder and the reigning Eastern Conference winners, Louisville City FC. Don't miss the start of the new season of the USL on ESPN Saturday, May 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. BJ was able to nod that one forward to Lewis. Once again, anything offensively for Central Valley Fuego is, by its nature, going to be a little bit hopeful. Just got to hope something bounces your way and you get the opportunity. Just thrown into nobody there for Central Valley Fuego. There's Mark McKeever. Man in charge of this expansion side in USL League One. Played last year in USL League Two, which was the first ever year for one Knoxville. Floating ball in, headed down. And then this effort, I think, deflected off of Jake Keegan. I'm not sure if that was going to be on target from Callum Johnson. It had some heat behind it. But then it ricocheted off of his striker teammate. Luis heads it right down in the middle. Not exactly the best spot to head a ball down if you're the center back. He's had a couple of moments here and there where you can tell that he's still trying to get back to his sharpness. But he'll be happy his side have not conceded up to this point, despite the lopsided circumstances. Can't have that. Sliding challenge there from Ramos. Gave a brief window of opportunity for Central Valley Fuego. McDowell nearly running into his teammate there, playing the ball forward, and that one's knocked away by Jordan Chavez, excuse me. I'm not sure if that was the ideal result there for the home side. It'll be a throw-in for one Knoxville. Better safe than sorry, though. This one Knoxville side been trying to break the door down. Haven't been able to find that finishing touch offensively. And they may they're gonna get a substitution here. Victor Falk coming into the game. I got a corner kick here for one Knoxville. Victor Falk into the game. Mentioned earlier his set piece ability. Diego Casillas, the one coming out of the match. It's the first substitution. Was that one? Doesn't make any contact. Got a couple bodies flying. Cerritos plays this one forward. Was trying to find Bijev, but his pass wasn't quite on target. Had a moment on the breakaway. They've just been lacking that finishing touch, Knoxville, which is interesting because I was talking to Central Valley Fuego about that very thing. They've only scored 2 goals this season, and one of them was from the penalty spot. I asked Martin Vasquez, I mean, you've got the talent. It's not like you've looked entirely helpless on offense, so what's been the thing missing? Is it chemistry? Is it just lacking that final touch? And he said, well, you could look at a lot of different things, but ultimately we have to provide the quality and have that killer instinct. He said the guys are playing in accordance to our style, where they're following it. They build up nicely, just have to be more of a killer. I think Knoxville are feeling the exact same way right now. Just haven't been able to punish anything yet. Vasquez couldn't keep that one in play. as Knoxville continues to play this season, they'll continue to gain a larger and larger understanding of the madness that is USL League One and what ensues. They may be getting a better side of it today if they don't find a goal. I talked to Mark McKeever about what he's been able to learn about this league since he's been able to coach a couple games now. They've played 4 matches up to this point. I just wanted to know what some of his takeaways have been. And he said, well, we mainly focused on ourselves, but we knew it was going to be a tough competitive league. And we also knew it was going to take a bit of time for us to get sharp and get honed in. He mentioned we're out shooting teams, but the chances haven't been quality chances in many cases. He mentioned how also they've let some things slip through on set pieces, but they're shoring that side of the game up. He also made a point that he knows that they've got a lot of guys on this team with USL League One experience, USL Championship experience. As this one's punched down, still loose. Keegan tried to bring it down quickly, but he couldn't do so. Keegan, one of those guys with League One experience. Just because you've got a bunch of players who spent time in the league, though, doesn't mean that you're just instantly going to make it work as an entirely new unit. It just takes time for the cohesion to settle in. The horn sounding off here at Fresno State Soccer Stadium. Just the second home game of the season for Central Valley Fuego, and Mitch North getting a yellow card. That's his first of the year. Villalobos chips that one forward. We've got a player down on the other end for one Knoxville. That's Jordan Skelton. And that's a guy they, of course, there's no single player that you like to lose, but he's a pretty big piece to this side. He's the loud leader along the back line for one Knoxville. We didn't see what transpired, but we've got a replay to give you a better idea. So it looks like maybe he got hit in the chin there, somewhere in the face as he was going up for that ball. William Bijev not doing anything malicious. There he is. He's wearing the captain's armband for a reason. Got a lot of leaders along that back line, a lot of guys with experience. Sean O'Hearn, Jalen Chrysler, Jordan Skelton, of course, all with League One experience. Derek Waldeck on top of that. There's Mark McKeever. I asked him if Skelton's the leader, the voice along that back line, and he said, well, he's the big voice, the one you hear, but Jalen, Sean, Derek are all voices that can give instruction. He said Jalen Chrysler is also a guy who's talking all the time, just not as loudly, and they're all helping out Danny Fernandez, who is sort of the young buck in the group. Of course, already been subbed out of this game. It's his first year as a pro. He said Jalen Chrysler is a talker, constantly teaching instruction. But Jordan Skelton's the voice that travels. It's the one that you can hear from the stands from the opposite end of the pitch. He said he's got a team full of good communicators. Jimmy Villalobos, another guy who does a lot of communicating on the field for his team. Linos. Back to Chrysler, now Vanderplump. It's a loose touch from Villalobos. And that is a rough challenge from Jan-Erik Linos. And he's going to get a yellow card. I can almost see that happening in slow motion. Linos just, as you see here, he's just coming in so late. You can see the frustration on Jimmy Villalobos' face after the contact was made. So we're gonna get another substitution here for one Knoxville. Callum Johnson's gonna come out and Ahinga Selemani will get his crack at it. Johnson had a handful of opportunities in this game and just couldn't get one to go past Mitch North. We'll see if Selemani has a better go of it. $20 more minutes to go. Can one Knoxville find a goal up a man? Central Valley continue to hang on, and they've got 5 shots themselves. See Diego Casillas there sitting on the bench, arm over his eyes. A sunny day in the Central Valley. That ball headed upward. Anything can happen here, and it skips down. Villalobos now trying to get on the breakaway. They'll play on. Selemani gets that one knocked out by Omar Lemus. They might bring this one back and wait to see what the issue is. We have a player down for one Knoxville. Looks like Jimmy Villalobos is the one who's down here. He's the one who took the contact there on the breakaway. See Jessen Vanderplump pointing to the wrist as if making sure that they tack some time onto the watch. That one brought down. Selemani turns and shoots. And North is able to fall on top of it. Skelton to Chrysler. He sends this long ball down the pitch, trying to connect with Selemani. Cerritos turning about. Now it's Lemus. Still going with it. And we've got another Knoxville player down. That's Villalobos again. I think he's going to need to come off of this game. Well, here's a look at what transpired. There he's in the middle of the screen. Yeah, I think he just stepped funny, and he puts his hand up immediately, then goes down. They're going to need to sub him out. They don't really have a like-for-like substitution at this point. They've got Gabriel Claudio as well as Sebastian Andreasen as their two remaining options substitution-wise. Well, then, of course, Peter Swinkles, but can't exactly sub in a goalkeeper here. They may need to shake up the structure a little bit with whoever you decide to bring on. See our red hat there, right behind there, Mendo. Bit of our liaison between the producer, myself, and make sure all the information's being given to us here in the broadcast booth. He's the one who gets us all the substitution information. Outside of that, of course, Red Hats, the ones who tell the referee that it's okay to get the game going. And that's for us to make sure that you don't miss a second of the action here on ESPN+. Keegan loses his footing. Cerritos has some space in front of him now. Bijev. Partita turning about. Cerritos into the middle. Ramos. Marking the space and ends up just passing it back into the clutches of one Knoxville. Martin Vasquez closed off our discussion this week with a statement about how great USL League One is as a league. And he mentioned how his team want to be a part of showcasing what makes the league so good. In essence, wants to help in the muscle flexing that this league has done and how quickly it's grown over its first 5 years of existence. And I'll roll out for a throw for one Knox, and we'll get a substitution here for Jimmy Villalobos. Gabriel Claudio will come in for the first time this season in League One play. Claudio last year played with Union Omaha. And he subbed in during their Open Cup game, but this will be his League One debut under Knoxville colors. Throw in, headed right back out to McDowell. McDowell floats it up, and Claudio heads it. His first contact with the ball in League One action. A shot on target. Man, if he had scored there, talk about a wicked start to your League One season. Vanderplump to McDowell. Vanderplump to Linos. Sean O'Hearn Sends it over to McDowell once again. Kyle McDowell with the ball. Salamani now can't get to it in time. And it's Lamousse with the clearance. He was asking for contact off of Salamani there to make it a Central Valley throw, but it will be a visitor's throw-in. Just trying to break through. If you account for the 5 minutes of added time in the first half, as Bijev makes his way off the pitch, and David Diaz will come in his stead. And on top of that, Zahir Vasquez will come out, and Harold Hansen will come in. At this point, it's the final stretch for Central Valley Fuego. As I was just saying, if you count for the 5 minutes of stoppage time, it has been over 70 minutes that they have been down a man. And this game is still 0-0. McDowell throws it in. Vanderplum puts it back down in the mixer, but he pushed Hansen. Certainly been an interesting one here at Fresno State Soccer Stadium, as we've nearly hit 80 minutes. And that'll go out for a Central Valley throw, but Ramos slow to get up after that contact. Partida to Cerritos. Partida plays it out wide to Diaz. David Diaz, the substitute, is coming into the game. Ball swinging inside. Here's Diaz. He gets tripped up. Play goes on. And that ball from Ramos will bounce out for a goal kick. You thought for a moment there maybe Karen Collado, our head official, was playing advantage, but ultimately she did not deem it a foul. Got something on the field there. It's like a sheet of paper or something. Salamani turning about. Haven't seen too many moments of promise here for Knoxville recently. Keegan could change that. Keegan, well, that's lackluster. See there, obviously, offensively, it's going to favor one Knoxville. Been up a player since the 9th minute due to a headbutt from one Mohamed Dabo. They haven't been able to put one through, despite even having a trip to the penalty spot. That happened in the first half. Jimmy Villalobos dragging the effort wide after Jake Keegan was tripped up. The reality of escaping with a point is becoming more real for Central Valley Fuego. Now here's Cerritos. Over to Diaz. Diaz across the center, and it's cleared away. Jordan Skelton knocks that one out for a corner kick.
All right, Fuego, let's
worth noting, it is the first corner kick of the evening for the home side. This El Mexicano corner kick for Central Valley Fuego. Anything can happen in moments like this. Talking about stealing a point at home. I mean, imagine if you knock one through here. The fans drumming. They have hung on for over 70 minutes down a man. And they have kept it scoreless. Can they pull off something stunning here? It's Partida at that left flag. Here's the service. Still scuffling about. And it's another corner kick. Another El Mexicano corner kick for Central Valley Fuego. Things got a little jumbled there. Mark McKeever already mentioned set pieces have been something they've been working on defensively. Central Valley Fuego have another crack at it here. Partida. This one much more high arcing. Hansen, he plays it over to that corner. And Partida does everything he can to keep it in play. Linos clears it up. Now Knoxville, having survived those corner kicks, can attack the other way. It's Kyle McDowell. He's all by himself. McDowell across the middle. No one was there in the spot he placed it. Selemani to the top of the 18, and Jessen Vanderplump blasts that one. 5 more minutes to go, and then whatever stoppage time is tacked on top of that. Do we have a late game goal here? Selemani found the open run, and Jessen Vanderplump sent that one into the trees. Oh, he slipped up on that one, Mitch North. Wiped out on impact. I'm not sure what happened there. Keegan sitting well behind the back line. North will take every precious second off the clock there before he picks up the ball. That was a good touch. More chances are one Knoxville going to churn up here. As you know, they'll be throwing everything forward. Selemani. He's got a runner in the middle, instead goes back to Vanderplump. Here's Claudio. That should be a corner kick, and it will be. Now the visiting side with a chance to break down the door on the set piece. One more substitution for Central Valley Fuego. Alexis Cerritos comes out, one of the team's goal scorers, this season that is, for Otanil Jaramillo, the other team's goal scorer. And he scored from the penalty spot against One Knoxville last time these two teams met. Here's the corner kick. And nothing coming of it for the visiting side. Hansen trying to track that one down. One Knoxville. Forward once again, McDowell. And that one dealt with by Central Valley Fuego. Diaz taking it up the touchline. He does well there. Jaramillo sets him free and ends up winning a throw-in. Excellently done by Diaz and Jaramillo there. The 19-year-old and the 33-year-old with a good connection there. Partita splits defenders, and he's still going with it. Partita lays it off, and Jaramillo loses it. Ramos does well to step right back onto it. And Diaz gets knocked down, and there's some extracurriculars and probably a booking for David Diaz. Push on the head, too. He's got to be careful with actions like that. That's his second yellow of the season. He hits him in the head there. That's going to get you at least a yellow card. So 5 more minutes of stoppage time, which means by the time this final whistle blows, Knoxville have played 90 minutes up a man total. Claudio, and that one with way too much air underneath it. And two sides that are currently sitting tied at the bottom of the table will have to share a point apiece unless something gives here late. But it just hasn't looked that promising for Knoxville here in the second half. Only a .45 expected goals here in the second 45 minutes of action. And they've, the bulk majority of their expected goal is going to come from the penalty that was dragged wide. They've got a 1.77 expected goals total. Another free kick for Knoxville. Vanderplum. That one floats short. McDowell trying the cross. North doing what he can to prevent the corner kick. But he doesn't do enough. That still ended up coming across the byline. Another El Mexicana corner kick. Kyle McDowell, the rookie from Virginia Tech. Waiting to go ahead. Trying to find a last-minute winner. Service looks good. It doesn't make any contact with any Knoxville player. Knoxville push forward once again. O'Hearn, nice slipping pass through. The shot deflected. A follow-up effort slips through. And one Knoxville finally break down that door. They've been up a man for so long, and they finally break through. Playing till the final whistle. The visiting side finally slice one in. And here's a look. It's an excellent pass from O'Hearn. That effort deflects off the sliding defender, but they keep their heads up. And then it's Vowinkle who taps it back to Jessen Vanderplum, who puts away his first League One goal. And look how ecstatic the side is after that. From the Netherlands, Jessen Vanderplum. Now Hansen. Time still on the clock. Somehow that ball is still in play. Service back inside. Surely a little bit more time will be tacked on given the goal scored. That should be a corner kick. And it will be. Central Valley Fuego, maybe one last chance to knock one in and steal a point after the stoppage time goal from Jessen Vanderplum. Partita plays it. That one didn't even come into play. And that's going to do it there. Well, it took over 90 minutes of having a player advantage, but one Knoxville finds a way to get it done. A goal in stoppage time to find 3 points on the cross-country trip to Fresno. It doesn't matter when it gets done. It just matters that you have the lead when the game goes final. So we're going to take a look at our American Business Machines man of the match. Villian Bijev had a couple of great chances moving forward. Moments where if you were a Knoxville fan, you were worried that even though you had the man advantage, that Central Valley may just take a lead. But it would come to no fruition offensively for Central Valley Fuego. They'd hang on for 94 minutes, but then Jessen Vanderplum came in and assuredly put it through. Now I'll take a look at our play of the match for Central Valley Fuego, the home side. Jesus Partita with the build-up on this American Business Machines play of the match. Promising exchange, but into the hands of Sean Lewis. The steady keeper getting his first clean sheet of the season. His first in USL League One. And now we can take a peek at our save of the game. Also brought to you by American Business Machines. As we see it here, McDowell puts this one in. Gabriel Claudio on his first League One touch of the season Goes up. And he'll end up knotting it down after shifting around and positioning himself for it. Mitch North able to handle that one, though. And that brings us to where we're at now. 1-0, your final score. And now, with that in mind, we'll step aside briefly. When we come back, we'll give you our post-game thoughts here on ESPN+.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
A thrilling conclusion in Fresno as Jessen Vanderplump finds the game-winning goal in the 94th minute to give One Knoxville the victory on the road 1-0 over Central Valley Fuego. Here's a look at the full-time highlights, and this one starts right here with Mohamed Dabo headbutting Jalen Chrysler. Just can't make a decision like that. He gets the red card, straight red. He's sent off. And Central Valley Fuego, the home side, have to play down a player. Here they would get a penalty awarded to the visiting side. And you think at this moment, all right, this is where Knoxville get the advantage, get the lead, but Villalobos just puts it off target. Keeping the game at 0-0, maybe breathing some life and some hope into Central Valley Fuego that perhaps they can just hang on and get that point. McDowell would chip this one in. Gabriel Claudio, his first touch of the season, would headed on target, and it would be saved by Mitch North. There was one chance here in the second half for One Knoxville, but then here in the 94th minute, Sean O'Hearn with a beautifully threaded pass. Bowinkle shoots, deflects back. He plays it with the wherewithal, knowing that Jessen Vanderplump is waiting at the top of the 18th. Look at it again. That may have been a handball too. But ultimately, they kept playing, and playing until the final whistle is what they did. They found the goal, they took the lead, and they got the job done. You can look at all the numbers here. First assist of the season for Matthew Bowinkle. His first professional assist on top of that, mind you. First goal this season for Jessen Vanderplump. The man from the Netherlands. Played at Young Harris College under Mark McKeever. And then, of course, you've got that red card at the bottom of the screen. Dabo, that's the big story in this game. Martin Vasquez's side, they will stay at home and host North Carolina FC on Friday. Meanwhile, it is a short turnaround for One Knoxville. They've got a Wednesday game at home against Forward Madison. So both teams with a truncated week. And for this broadcast, our entire broadcasting crew, I'm Mark Schoenster. We appreciate you tuning in here on this Sunday fixture of USL League One, and we'll see you on Wednesday here on ESPN+.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League League One cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League League One.